to address today. First up is the man in custody in the Saif Ali Khan robbery and stabbing case, really the main accused. A new purported forensic report has added a new twist. We'll tell you all about it ahead on the show. The other story that we are talking about comes from the United States. In fact, it comes from the UK. We will tell you how millionaires in UK owe India, owe us for the luxury, for the money that they now enjoy. And finally, we will talk about 18,000 Indians who could be set for a ghar wapasi from the United States. Why is it? That's the big story you should stay tuned for. But the big question everyone across India now seems to be asking, is Saif Ali Khan's real attacker really behind bars? Saif is safe. Has his attacker been caught? Or is there more to this than meets the eye? The Mumbai police say that they have clinching evidence against the man they have in their custody, Mohammad Shariful Islam Shehzad, but now comes a fresh twist. A newspaper daily has claimed that they had an independent forensic expert compare the pictures of the man arrested by the Mumbai police with the man seen on CCTV running away from Saif Ali Khan's house. According to the newspaper, the forensics lab found that the two people are not the same. This was determined after carrying out a photograph recognition analysis where multiple parameters did not seem to match between the two photos. Let's take a look at each of these parameters one by one, and then you can judge whether the finding seems authentic. First, the lab looked at the forehead of the man in both pictures. The report claims that the arrested accused's forehead, you see his forehead there, it's long and wide, whereas the forehead of the man on CCTV is smaller in comparison. The second comparison was made between the eyes. On comparing the two pictures, it is found that the arrested man's eyes are almond-shaped, they are oval. However, the man on CCTV has round eyes. Even the eyebrows seem to be very different in the two images. Shariful Islam Shehzad, the man who has now been arrested, has close set eyebrows. They are closer together, unlike the man who is on CCTV. The next aspect they examined was the nose. Shariful Shehzad's image, according to the report, shows a broad nose, but in the CCTV, the nose is more pointed. There you can see the picture on your screen, the nose in the first picture and the nose caught on CCTV. And finally, the forensics laboratory talks about the shape of the lips on both these pictures. Shariful, who is now in custody, is said to have heart-shaped lips, while the suspect on camera has bow-shaped lips. The shape you see right on the top. The report says that Shariful has heart-shaped, whereas the one on the suspect caught on camera is different. It is bow-shaped. Now, on the basis of these observations, 5 different observations, this forensics report concludes that the man arrested and the one who was seen on CCTV camera at the fire exit, they are not the same. This report has been given by a private lab named Brilliant Forensic Investigation, but it has been trashed by the Mumbai police. Our reporter spoke to the investigating officer who claims that the accused has already confessed to committing the crime, and this report is mere kite flying. The police also says that they have collected fingerprints from the crime scene which match the fingerprints of Shariful Islam. In addition to this, the third clinching evidence they claim is that they have recovered a cap of the accused from the room of Saif's son Jahangir. This, by the way, is the same room where the entire altercation took place and Saif was eventually stabbed. What is significant is that these questions and doubts about the Saif mystery aren't just being raised by such forensic reports or by newspapers or by people in general. Even government insiders in Maharashtra seem to have some reservations. Not about the identity of the attacker, but in fact about the attack itself. Sanjay Nirupam, who is a member of the ruling Mahayuti in Maharashtra, has questioned whether Saif was stabbed at all. He referred to the way in which Saif Ali Khan walked into his house after being discharged from hospital. The visuals you see on that screen, that has raised a lot of questions. Sanjay Nirupam asked whether someone who has been stabbed so seriously, so badly, that a 2.5-inch piece of knife is lodged close to his spine, can the person who was stabbed on the 16th of January fully recover in just 5 days? On the 21st, he walks out and looks in the pink of health. This is a view that his party has quickly distanced itself from.
तभी बताया गया था डॉक्टरों की तरफ से कि उनके पीठ में 2.5 इंच का चाकू घुस गया था। डॉक्टरों ने यह भी बताया कि 6 घंटे तक ऑपरेशन चला और उसके बाद ऑटो वाले ने बताया कि लहूलुहान अवस्था में ये स्ट्रेचर पर टांग करके पहुंचाए गए थे हॉस्पिटल में। उसके बाद वो इलाज इतना बढ़िया था, या मैं कह सकता हूं कि मेडिकल सेक्टर इतना तरक्की कर गया है कि 4 दिन बाद मैं देखता हूं कि सैफ अली खान साहब एकदम उछलते कुत्ते अपने घर लौट आते हैं।
देखिए, संजय निरुपम जी की व्यक्तिगत राय मत हो सकती है। जहां तक हमारा सवाल है, महायुति सरकार और हमारे नेतृत्व बिल्कुल स्पष्ट रूप से बांग्लादेशी इन्फिल्ट्रेटर्स और घुसपैठ के साथ कड़ी कार्रवाई करेंगे। जहां भी केस हो, सैफ अली खान हो या एक आम नागरिक।
Some people are asking, is the real man arrested? Some people are asking, was Saif stabbed at all? Some people are asking, just how did the attacker enter Saif Ali Khan's house? So many conspiracy theories are being born thanks to this question that still is not satisfactorily answered. People are saying, how can somebody enter such a high security home and go right up till their children's bedroom? We are piecing together the police's version and the police's answer to this question. The Mumbai police says that Shehzad used the emergency stairs of the building to reach the 8th floor. Then he switched to a pipe and clambered up to the 12th floor of the house. So up till the 8th, he used the emergency exit, which is where that CCTV camera is present, which is where his face was captured. And after the 8th floor, he took a pipe to the 12th floor. And finally, that crucial question of how did he enter the house, apparently a bathroom window was left open. Such a secure house, but a bathroom window was carelessly left open, God knows by who, God knows in which room. And this is the bathroom window through which Shehzad entered the house. Now this accused has told the cops he checked the ducts and the doors of other flats as well. He didn't mark out Saif Ali Khan's house to target it. He checked the other houses as well, but all of them were locked. Saif Ali Khan had left his back door open as well. Thirdly, Shehzad has told the cops that he didn't know he had entered Saif's apartment. He realized it only when he saw the entire story playing out the next morning on the TV news. Now, it's but natural that all these theories are now being floated. How did the attack take place? What is the attacker's identity? Many wondering if even the real person is in custody. The police is unmoved. In fact, they have also told us how the entire manhunt took place, how they first identified the accused and how they eventually nabbed him. So here is how they put together this timeline. After stabbing Saif Ali Khan, Shehzad incredibly slept at the Bandra bus stop till 7 in the morning. Remember, this was the time that the police were looking for him all over the city, all over the country. 20 teams had been constituted, but he was barely a few hundred meters away in plain sight, sleeping at the Bandra bus stop. He then changed his clothes and left for Dadar. He got a haircut at a salon. Following this, he bought a headphone at a nearby shop and boarded a bus to Worli, Kolivada. It is here in Worli, Kolivada that he first watched the news on TV and realized what he had done. He also saw his picture being flashed on the news. He got completely spooked and fled to Thane. By this time though, the police say that Shehzad's picture had already been captured on CCTV camera. One CCTV camera in Worli. This is when he stopped at a roadside vendor to eat anda pav, and then he made the other crucial mistake. The cardinal mistake he made of making a UPI payment. It is through this UPI payment that the police tracked his phone number and eventually reached him. Once the cops had reached his Worli location, when they saw the CCTV, they questioned the anda pav vendor. The vendor then led them to a restaurant bar in Worli where Shehzad had been working. They spoke to the owners of the bar who told them that there had been a theft in their bar, and so the entire staff had been sacked, including Shehzad. And this is how the case started unraveling. The restaurant owner then led them to the labor supplier who had got Shehzad the job to begin with at this restaurant. And finally, thanks to the labor supplier, the police reached the labor camp in Thane. It's at this labor camp in the bushes that Shehzad was hiding. He was tracked down by the police there. The accused is in custody, according to the police, but after the major security lapse, all chances are being avoided. The security at Saif's house is being boosted multi-times. A high-tech intercom has been set up. Over 12 security personnel, including 5 policemen, 4 to 5 private bouncers and 3 to 4 society guards have been stationed for round-the-clock security. The security camera system has also been upgraded, not just in Saif's house, but also in the entire building. The million-dollar question still hangs in the air, though. Is this the real man? Is the real culprit behind bars? The police are confident. They say all the ducks are in a row, all the dots are adding up, we are dotting all our I's, we are crossing all our T's, and any other report that suggests otherwise is nothing more than hogwash. But the new forensic analysis, the dodgy details of how Shariful entered Saif Ali Khan's house still has people wondering, what if? Now the biggest challenge for the Mumbai police will be to build a watertight case, a case that will have all the facts laid out, and a case that will stand the scrutiny of any court of law in India. Now, let's tell you a story that goes back into history. It is about loot, it is about plunder, and it is about an apology. Let's listen in to what happened this weekend in Mumbai.
Our fourth visit to India and second time to play, and the first time we've played our own show, and we couldn't ask for a better audience to play to. So thank you for coming today, everybody. It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain. Thank you for forgiving us for all of the bad things Great Britain has done, and welcoming us to your home.
So you just heard Coldplay lead singer Chris Martin. He created a stir when he apologized for colonialism in his Mumbai concert this weekend. But turns out he may have a lot more left to apologize for. A new report by Oxfam shows how the British left India battered and bruised in many more ways than what we know so far. From riches to rituals to even slavery. And how the UK has built its modern day empire on India's plundered wealth. Yes, UK's millionaires are takers, not makers. So says Oxfam's report. A report that was released at the World Economic Forum in Davos. The report says that the UK's richest 10% looted half of India's wealth during the Raj of the British. How was this done? Well, $64.82 trillion were taken from India between 1765 and 1900. Of this, $33.8 trillion, adjusted for today's value, has enriched the richest 10% in the UK. By the way, if this money, if this wealth was to be turned into currency, it would be enough to carpet the surface area of London in 50-pound notes almost 4 times over. Yes, you could wrap all of the city of London in 50-pound notes 4 times over as of today, thanks to the money that the East India Company has taken away from our country. But it's not just the ultra-rich who are rich thanks to us. The main beneficiaries of Britain's colonialism and its colonial plunder are its middle class. After the richest 10% who received 52% of this income, the new middle class received a further 32%. For more than 200 years, the East India Company has looted India in a systematic manner using a combination of force, stealth and all kinds of twisted strategy. They killed local enterprise, they killed Indian industry. The officers of the East India Company amassed wealth for themselves while they were here in India Indians were rendered beggars, but the richest people at that time were officers of the East India Company. Lest we forget, during the entire 200-year history of British rule in India, there was almost no increase in per capita income. In fact, during the last half of the 19th century, income in India collapsed by half. The average life expectancy of Indians dropped by a fifth between 1870 to 1920. Tens of millions died needlessly of policy-induced famine. They took away our money, they took away our industry, they even took away our food. But this wasn't always the case. Before the plunder reached its height in 1750, India truly was the golden bird, it was the Sone ki Chidiya. The Indian subcontinent accounted for around 25% of the world's industrial output. Imagine that. 1/4 of the industrial output across the world came only from India. Then came 150 years of colonialism, of loot, and by 1900, this had shrunk from 25% to a mere 2%. The reason? Britain's implementation of stringent protectionist policies against Asian textiles, which systematically throttled India's industrial growth. The story gets even more sordid. The opioid crisis that the world is facing today can be traced back to the corporate greed of European colonial powers. Both the Dutch and the British East India Company used the opium trade to consolidate their colonial rule. In eastern India, opium production was promoted on an industrial scale. The British East India Company held a monopoly from 1757 and the produce was exported to China, eventually triggering the Opium War. In the middle of the 19th century, opium amounted to more than half of China's total imports and represented the British Raj's third largest revenue stream after salt and land taxes. British billionaires do not have a glorious past. Most of the conversation, when we talk about slavery, centers around America and Africa, but India suffered similarly. From the 1830s to 1920, 3.7 million Indian, Chinese, African, Japanese and other people were transported to work in colonial plantations and mines as indentured labourers. More than 59 million deaths occurred in India under British rule between 1891 and 1920. So look at what we know by now. What this report tells us is that when they were in India, the British made themselves rich. India was a flourishing superpower even at that time. It was an industrial power to be reckoned with. 25% of the industrial output reduced to 2%, and from being an industrial superpower, we were turned into slaves. We were made to work at plantations. Grain import restrictions during World War II, underpinned by racist thinking, contributed significantly and in a way triggered the Bengal famine of 1943. 3 million people died. That blood too is on the hands of the British. The list of these excesses and plunder is endless. Sure, you colonize a country, you enrich yourself, but to turn those people into beggars and simply not talk about it all these years later. The British looted India for more than 200 years and the UK owes a huge debt to India even now for all those wrongdoings. At least, and many people have said this again and again, maybe, just maybe, an apology not from Chris Martin but from the powers that be could be a small beginning in the direction of righting these historical wrongs. Speaking of historical wrongs, America is planning to right one as well. And thanks to that, 18,000 Indians who are living in the United States may soon be set to do a ghar wapasi. This is thanks to the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration and his promise to deport all those who are living in his country without proper documents.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
I think our country is built on immigrants, and the reason we have birthright citizenship is to encourage people to move here. And if we want to grow our country, that's the best way to do it.
I think it would hurt so many people that I feel almost like it's un-American. I mean, we've been a country that has welcomed people, so I feel like if you're born here, I feel like you should be a citizen here.
I think you cannot send people all away because they might get together and work against this because they are used to live here, and who's going to do the work after that? And it's not sure that you're not coming into a civil war because the people are living here and you cannot send them away.
While opinion in the United States is divided about this crackdown, India is already making ready its strategy for the repatriation. Sources say 18,000 have already been identified for deportation. However, the exact number of Indians residing illegally or without proper documentation in the United States of America so far is unclear, which basically means that this figure could be much larger in the days to come. Speaking of figures, MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said that last October itself, more than 100 undocumented Indians were brought back, and a total of more than 1,000 were brought back over the entire year. So 1,000 were brought back in just 2024. How many more undocumented NRIs from the US should we expect now? Does anyone even have a fix on just how many undocumented Indians are living there? Well, the Pew Research Center estimated that there are 14 million undocumented immigrants in the United States in 2022, and of these, an estimated 7,25,000 were from India alone. By the way, this means that Indians are the third largest group who contribute to undocumented immigrants. They come at third position after Mexico and El Salvador. However, Donald Trump says that this number is closer to 20 to 25 million. Illegal immigrants in the US from countries other than Mexico grew rapidly between 2019 and 2022. That is the reason that America now is extremely hawkish about the idea of allowing undocumented immigrants. Where do they all come from? You see the figures on your screen. You've got a large number coming from the Middle East, coming from Africa, but India so far is the third largest. And what this figure also shows you, if we stay on this figure for a while, look at the growth that has happened between 2019 and 2022. In Asia alone, if we look at the undocumented immigrants from Asia, it grew from 1,550 in 2019 to 1,700 in 2022. Which are the states where the maximum number of such people are settled in the US? Many of them are actually Republican strongholds, which is why the pushback is even stronger. This population is heavily concentrated in states like Florida, in Texas, New York, and New Jersey. If we talk about Florida, Florida alone accounts for 400,000 or 4 lakh such individuals. Most illegal immigrant populations stayed steady from 2019 to 2022. Let's take a look at the 6 states and hold on that for a second. The 6 states that account for the maximum number of illegal immigrants. One is California, where you have 18 lakh illegal immigrants. After that, you've got Texas, which has 16 lakh. Then at third position, if we can move on now, is Florida, which accounts for 12 lakhs. And 12 lakhs also means that there was a significant jump in Florida, like we said, between 2019 and 2022, and so on and so forth. So you've got California, you've got Florida, you've got New York in excess of 10 lakhs. 3 states with excess of 10 lakh undocumented immigrants. Now the point is, what happens to these people? Border authorities have terminated Joe Biden's One Entry program, which had allowed thousands of migrants to seek entry through an app-based appointment system. India is wary of Trump's stand on H-1B visas as well. Of course, there is a lot of talk about how H-1B should not be confused with the illegal immigrants. These are highly skilled people. However, when it comes to the illegals, India, as a goodwill gesture, has decided to go ahead and take the people back. Indians have worked hard to make a good name for themselves in the US. As per Indiaspora, a US-based non-profit organization, 5.1 million Indian Americans represent the Indian diaspora, including those born in India and in the US. They make up 1.5% of the population, yet they generate $350 to $490 billion in revenue each year. $300 billion is contributed by them in tax. And that's on top of the $370 billion in annual spending, which translates into a major economic wave in terms of sales tax, business growth, and support of employment. One can't even begin talking of the unicorns that they head, of the number of institutions, the number of professors that come from the Indian diaspora. But the number one issue right now before India is to ensure that people who have gone on H-1B visas, people who have settled in America, highly skilled Indians, should not be confused for the illegal immigrants, which is why, as a goodwill gesture, even before any such overt move is made by the American administration, India has agreed to take back the undocumented illegal immigrants from our country who are in the United States. All right, that's it then on In Your Interest for today. See you tomorrow at the same time. Don't forget to keep the appointment. See you then.
You work too hard. Work smart like me.
Why? Won a lottery, is it?
You can say so. I'm investing in a great scheme in the share market. High returns guaranteed.
Your high returns aren't Karan Arjun for them to definitely come to you.
Meaning?
That there's risk involved in the share market.